Little dragon flies to human crying. They're hurting my mama dragon. What the man did is shocking the mining colony of Arcturus. 7 was never meant to be beautiful. It was a place of red dust and gray metal, where humans carved their existence from unforgiving rock beneath alien skies. William Chun had been there for 3 years, operating heavy machinery and dreaming of Earth's green forests. Forests he'd only seen in photographs passed down from his grandmother. He was checking pressure readings on the tertiary drill when he heard it, a sound like wind chimes mixed with distressed chirping. William looked up from his datapad, squinting against the perpetual orange haze of Arcturus 7's atmosphere. Something small and iridescent was flying toward him, weaving erratically through the AI. As it came closer, William's breath caught. It was a dragon, or at least, that's what his Earth-trained mind called it. No larger than a cat, with scales that shimmered between emerald and sapphire, translucent wings that caught the light like stained glass, and eyes that held far too much intelligence for something that should have been impossible. The creature landed on his shoulder, tiny claws gripping his work suit, and began making urgent sounds. To William's absolute shock, his translator implant, designed to interpret the few known alien languages in the sector, flickered to life. "Help! Please help! They're hurting Mama! The Metal Bringers, they're hurting Mama!" William froze. The dragons of Arcturus 7 were supposed to be nothing more than local fauna. Beautiful, rare, but non-sentient according to every corporate survey. That's what hegemonic mining had told them. That's what had allowed them to set up operations here in the first place. "Where?" William asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Where is your mama?" The little dragon, she seemed female somehow, though William couldn't explain how he knew, tugged at his collar with surprising strength. "The deep caves, where you take the shining stones. Please, please, human friend. They're using the screaming machines." Serenity Rodriguez, the colony's xenobiologist, had been arguing with management for months about the drilling patterns. William had seen her reports flagged and dismissed, watched her grow increasingly frustrated as hegemonic mining pushed deeper into the mountain ranges. She'd suspected something. She'd known he needed to find her. William scooped the little dragon gently into his arms, feeling the rapid flutter of her heartbeat against his palms. She was warm, warmer than any earth reptile, and trembling. "I'm going to help," he promised. "What's your name?" "Spark of Morning Sky," the translator rendered, though William suspected the original was far more complex. "Mama calls me Spark." "I'm William. Hold tight, Spark." He found Serenity in her lab module, surrounded by holographic displays of geological surveys and bioscan data. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and there were shadows under her eyes that spoke of too many sleepless nights. "Serenity, we have a problem," William said, and the little dragon launched herself from his arms to hover in front of the xenobiologist's face. "Please, wise one who watches," Spark pleaded. "You try to stop them. I saw you arguing with the cold-voiced leader." Serenity's face went pale, then flushed with barely contained fury. "They can talk," she whispered. "They're sentient. I knew it. I knew it. And Patterson buried my reports." She stood so quickly her chair clattered backward. "Where's your mother, little one?" "Tunnel 7B, Spark said. "They went deep today, past the sleeping chambers. Mama went to move the eggs, but the screaming machines came and the ceiling fell, and now she's trapped, and they're still drilling, and—" "Show me your scans," William interrupted, moving to Serenity's console. His mining expertise kicked in immediately. 7B. That's the new expansion. Patterson wanted to hit quota before the quarterly review. Serenity pulled up the tunnel schematics, overlaying them with her biological survey data that had been marked inconclusive and shelved. The truth bloomed across the screen in damning detail. The cave formations the mining corp had been drilling through weren't natural. They were nests, carefully constructed chambers that had been there for centuries, maybe millennia. "We're not mining through mountains," Serenity said quietly. "We're mining through their homes, through their nurseries." William's jaw clenched. "How many?" "The biosigns I've been tracking? At least 40 adults. Maybe 200 juveniles and eggs." She looked at him, and he saw the same decision crystallizing in her eyes that he felt forming in his chest. "Patterson won't stop the drilling, even if I show him this." "Then we stop it ourselves," Williams said. What William Chun did next would be called reckless by some, heroic by others, and corporate sabotage by hegemonic mining's legal team. He didn't care about any of those labels. He accessed the mining network with his supervisor credentials and triggered an emergency lockdown of Tunnel 7B, citing catastrophic structural instability. The alarms that screamed through the colony were real enough. He made sure of that by carefully overloading 3 support pillars in the adjacent shaft. Not enough to cause real damage, but enough to make his warning legitimate. While emergency teams scrambled to assess the crisis, Serenity launched every piece of suppressed data she had into the colony's main communications array, broadcasting it not just to Arcturus 7, but to every receiving station within range. Evidence of sentience, evidence of nesting sites, evidence that hegemonic mining had known, or should have known, and had proceeded anyway. And William? William took the mining mech that he'd operated for 3 years, 50 tons of drilling equipment and reinforced plating, and drove it into Tunnel 7. B.Spark guided him through the darkness, her bioluminescent scales providing navigation where his lights failed. The Mama Dragon was magnificent, even injured, easily the size of a shuttle, with scales like polished chrome and wings that seemed to hold entire galaxies in their webbing. She was pinned beneath a collapsed support beam, her breath coming in labored gasps, her body curved protectively around a cluster of eggs that glowed faintly in the dark. The Mama Dragon's eyes opened as they approached, ancient and knowing. She made no move to attack, though William had no doubt she could have torn through his mech like tissue paper, even wounded. Instead, she watched as he carefully positioned the mech's lift arms and began the delicate process of raising the beam. "Easy, Mama," he murmured, though he knew she couldn't understand him without a translator. "I've got you." It took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of precise adjustments, of Spark darting between her mother and William, relaying information about pain and pressure. 40 minutes during which William expected security forces to arrive and drag him away, but they didn't come. Because Serenity's broadcast had already reached the Galactic Council's nearest monitoring station. Because the evidence of sentient species protection violations was now public record. Because sometimes doing the right thing meant burning every bridge you had. When the beam finally lifted and the Mama Dragon pulled herself free, she turned those cosmic eyes on William. She lowered her massive head until it was level with his mech's cockpit, and she breathed, a warm exhalation that fogged his viewport and smelled of ozone and starlight. Spark translated, her voice awed. "Mama says, humans are strange. Humans are loud and destructive and careless. But humans can also choose differently. She says she will remember William Chun. She says her children will remember." 3 months later, Arcturus 7 was declared a protected world. Hegemonic mining was fined into bankruptcy, and William and Serenity found themselves unlikely celebrities in the galactic community, proof that humanity, messy, flawed, destructive humanity, could also recognize sentience, could also choose compassion, could also stand between the powerful and the powerless. Spark visited them sometimes, flying through the viewport of their new research station. She was teaching them Dragon Song, she said, teaching them the proper words for friend and family and home. And in the deep caves of Arcturus 7, dragon mothers taught their children about the human who drove his machine into the dark to save a life he'd never met, simply because it was the right thing to do. That, perhaps, was the most human thing of all.